Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Tonight, yeah, it's Tuesday, right? No, it's Monday. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what day it is. It's Monday. Happy Monday. Never mind. Trying to wish this week away. So tonight we are talking about video 2 of the Behavior Change Masterclass. This video is called the Starve It and Replace It Framework. And I told you guys in my email, this is actually my favorite video of the series, which I probably shouldn't say that because I really want you to watch the next video too because it's really good. But this video has a lot of great information in it. So if you're jumping on here and you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, I'm running a free 4-part video training series right now, and you can still sign up. We're 2 videos in. If you sign up today, you'll get the first 2 videos sent to you right away, and video 3 comes out tomorrow. So the link is in the caption of this Facebook Live, and you can join right in. If you've been doing this training series so far, and because we work in teams and we work with groups, and you think there is someone else that could benefit from this training, definitely recommend it to them. So, oh, someone said it's Tuesday in Australia. Perfect. You have made me feel so happy, Lynette. I was totally correct on saying happy Tuesday. So if you think maybe someone on your team, a clinician, some of your paras would benefit from watching this too, shoot them this link and say, hey, I'm doing this training. Let's do it together. The more people we can get on the same page, really the better. So I've heard from a bunch of you that have been using this training with your staff. I saw a few teachers that use this with gen ed teachers, with their paraprofessionals. So anyone that's on here, if you used either of these training videos so far with people in your school, let me know. Drop your name in here and tell me how you used it with your staff, if you used it with your team, if you did it at a little mini training and got kind of all crazy with it. I'd love to hear from those of you. Give me a little wave if you did use these with your team, because I think when we're doing staff training and something that I'm really passionate about talking about, there's something kind of great about someone else sometimes doing the talking. So I am happy to be that one doing the talking. Putting on a little video is a great way to kind of get a ball rolling on staff training, but not be the one to do it, right? It's not quite as intimidating. Lisa said she shared it with her paraprofessionals today. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Barbara said her team is all watching. It's kind of nice to have that community of going through something together. And one of my favorite parts of trainings, you guys know I do a lot of trainings and I try to go to as many conferences as I can. I love the side conversations. And that's crazy to say, like, as the presenter, I want people to have side conversations, but I almost do. I like when teams sit together and the teachers with their paras or clinicians, and when we're talking about a strategy in a workshop, and then teachers like, oh my God, like, well, with Johnny, this is how we could do this. So you start to really apply these strategies to your specific kids or your class. And that is what happens when you go through something like this training series together, being like, oh my gosh, how could we apply the Starve and Replace It framework to our kids? How could we work on the behavior change mindset, which was video 1, within our team and our school community? So it's great to kind of figure out how you can apply this to your team. So if you haven't shared it with your team yet, or your colleagues, not too late. And if you are behind on the videos, definitely catch up. These videos aren't gonna last forever. They're gonna expire next week. So I wanna make sure you get them in and you watch them. I think the first one was 10 minutes and the second one's like 13, 14. So not huge time commitments, but I think they pack a punch. There's a lot included in them, especially this one. So on to our topic of the evening. So what we are talking about today was the Starve It and Replace It framework. And in this, it was like, 14-minute video. We really summarized a lot of what I want the structure of a behavior plan to be. And I tried to explain it in a super user-friendly way so we can use this with our teams and our parents. But when behavior gets really complicated, I always go back to the Starve It and Replace It framework and make sure I am using this structure when I set up my behavior plans. The Starve It and Replace It framework is proactive. We're looking at preventing problem behavior before they start. And I'm pretty sure you all can be on board with that, right? This is also evidence-based. This is rooted in the strategies of applied behavior analysis. This isn't something I made up. There is evidence to back this up. So while we start chatting about the Starve It and Replace It framework, let's drop in the comments here behaviors that you would like to see less of in your classroom? And of course, we're not going to put any student names, right? We're not breaching any confidentiality, but go ahead and start dropping in the comments some behaviors that you would like to see less of. Behaviors that are causing less opportunities for academic engagement, behaviors that are causing social stigmatization, behaviors that are disruptive, behaviors that are having a negative impact on your learner's education. Those are the behaviors that we want to target for decrease. And at the same time, we want to teach the missing skill. And that's why the way that I've discussed in this video, the starve it and replace it framework, how the two pieces go together is so, so essential. So as you guys are typing in your behaviors here, I'm going to kind of get into the two components of the starve it and replace it framework. Because when we just look at trying to decrease a negative behavior, we're just unlikely to be as effective as we would if we were also teaching the missing skill. So this framework comes at behavior change from a skills perspective. We want to teach the missing skills, and negative behaviors are demonstrating a skill deficit. There is some skill that our student, our learner, our individual doesn't have a strong enough repertoire with yet. And we're going to really kind of call back to video 1, that behavior change mindset, where we talked about having a growth mindset about behavior change. Our learner doesn't have these skills yet. We're going to be the ones to teach them. So we have to approach decreasing negative behaviors by actually increasing positive. And that's sometimes the missing piece that can really cause our behavior plans to be ineffective or to be ineffective in the long term. When I say behavior change, guys, I mean real behavior change. I want behavior change that is long lasting, that lasts years and years and years. I want behavior change that generalizes. Oh my gosh, I want this to go in other classrooms and other settings at home in high school. I remember as a young teacher feeling really frustrated when I had students in my class who had behaviors, and other teachers would tell me, oh, well, he didn't do that in my room. He didn't do that in my room. He didn't do that in my room. First of all, that made me feel like crap because I felt like I was doing something wrong. But I soon realized, I didn't do anything wrong. You thought you taught that skill really well, but guess what? It didn't generalize. We want these skills to show up in other settings. So let me see what you guys dropped in on negative behaviors. People love adding in the negative behaviors. If you have been to my behavior change workshop, we have two kind of times. One, we share positive behaviors we want to see more of, and people participate. And then we share the negative behaviors we want to see less of, and man, people are in it. So yeah, we've got some good ones here. Student elopement, biting, spitting, self-talk loudly all the time, dropping to the floor, refusing to follow classroom rules, hitting and kicking, self-injury, non-compliance, refusal of doing work, yelling, giving up, biting, right? All of these things have a major impact on our students' learning, our students' opportunities for independence, our students' opportunities to make friends, our students' opportunities to be part of the community. I talk about this a lot in behavior change, on my behavior change workshop. When students and individuals regularly are engaging in these behaviors, sometimes in their family, this unintentionally forces our kids to become a little ostracized from their family and from their community. Let's say mom or dad takes Johnny grocery shopping, and Johnny knocks over an entire shelf of pasta sauce in that grocery store. It looks like there is a murder of pasta on aisle 5. And mom, first of all, is embarrassed, dad's embarrassed. Maybe they have to pay for it. That grocery trip is suddenly $400 because they have to pay for all the broken pasta sauce. Do you think mom is taking Johnny to the grocery store again? No, probably not. So now Johnny is ostracized from, something's popping up here. Johnny's ostracized from his community, from his family. So these are behaviors that have real impacts on our kids' lives when we can decrease them and teach something instead. And I shared a little anecdote and changed the names and some of the details in my video too. If you haven't watched it yet, definitely watch it, about my student Chris. And when he came to me, the reputation, that narrative, that behavior change mindset, a lot of people didn't have about him. People didn't have high expectations. And how we really worked to, over years, it wasn't a magic wand, using the starve it and replace it framework, decreasing his behaviors while teaching him what to do instead. And the things he was able to do instead, you guys, he was able to learn how to read. He was able to learn how to make friends, how to have a job and learn pre-vocational skills. And he went off to high school with no BIP at all, because really skills had generalized and maintained that much that we weren't seeing these behaviors at all, because now his positive skills had real meaning in his life. So that's really what we want to look for, is that big picture. So let's get to starve it and replace it. So I hope everyone downloaded the worksheet. So if you didn't download this yet, this is in the downloads next to the video. Right under the video, say download it. You can click this. This is an awesome one to put in your room, share with staff training, your teams, your admin, just to kind of talk about, hey, this is what I'm doing. Parents at an IP to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. So step 1 of our starve it and replace it framework, figure out why a negative behavior is happening. It's being done to communicate something. So utilize your ABC data, power of observation, really take note and decide. We got to play behavior detective here. What is the student getting out of this negative behavior? And now we have our 2 steps. We've got starve it and replace it. So starve it is removing or decreasing whatever is causing that negative behavior to continue. And this is sometimes where people get stuck, because they're like, oh, if it's an attention-seeking behavior, I can't take away all of the attention, right? There are just some behaviors that obviously we can't ignore. Absolutely not. We cannot ignore 2 students being aggressive to each other. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm running a fight club in my class. You guys go at it. No way. We cannot ignore a student getting into a situation that could be dangerous, right? If they are running outside of the classroom or engaging in extreme self-injury. No, we cannot ignore that. But what we can do is we can minimize the attention that behaviors get. If it's an escape behavior, we can minimize the quality of that escape. So when I say starve it, I don't mean take away all of it. I mean take away as much as we can. And when we think about, even just these 2, attention and escape behaviors, attention, sometimes we give so much unnecessary attention to a behavior. We talk about it, we lecture, we overprompt, we give eye contact, where we could easily keep students safe without all that extra stuff. For escape is always to somewhere. We're escaping from something that we don't want to do to something we do want to do. So make sure wherever that escape is happening, it's not as great as it could be. We're saving all of that. We're saving the good attention, the good escape, all the good stuff for step number 3. That's the replacement. That's where we're saving the quality attention, the quality break. We are teaching a skill that we're going to reinforce with that same why. To me, you guys, the replacement behavior is the secret sauce to a behavior plan. It's what I see missing the most, because so often we think, oh, they know what to do. They have a replacement behavior. Like, but do they? Because if they had one, they would be using them, right? So maybe they have one in their repertoire. They know how to do it. Then we want to make sure that they are reinforced for that. They're receiving reinforcement for that behavior. We got to get the buy-in. We got to show them that this works. When you raise your hand, when you use a break card, when you use a help card, when you say, excuse me, come over here, please, it's going to happen for you. So that takes some work on our part to get that buy-in. So we really want to make sure that we teach that new, positive, pro-social skills. And how do we teach things? Repetition, reinforcement. We got to show our learner a ton of times that this works. So really think about how we can get buy-in on the replacement behaviors. So that's step number 3, replace it. Step number 4 is take data to see progress. That's the video that's coming out tomorrow, is what's data got to do with it. And sneak peek, guys, the data video has some free data sheets that are some of my favorite brand new ones that I made just for this training series that you can download. And they're, of course, editable, because we can't have data sheets that aren't editable. So make sure to grab those tomorrow when that video comes out. So, in a nutshell, that's our starve and replace it framework. behavior change can get complicated really quickly. Behaviors are complex. They have multiple functions. For some of our learners, they've been working for a really long time. But when we kind of keep coming back to this foundational concept, we want to starve it, replace it, starve it, replace it. I think we can sometimes see maybe where we've made missteps, where we've forgotten things. So I encourage you to take this framework and to look at your current behavior plans, look at your current interventions, look what you are currently doing and see what's missing. How can we remove the reinforcer even more from that negative behavior? And how can we get that buy-in for the replacement behavior? So that's really kind of the structure. And it's, of course, not this simple. It's not a magic spell. As I said in the video, if someone is offering you the magic wand of like, this is going to work in 24 hours, it's fine, be skeptical, guys, because true, real behavior change takes time and work. It's easier to make quick assumptions. It's easier to be like, he doesn't want to, he's lazy, this is the wrong setting, he's never going to do that. You wipe your hands, right? It's harder to do this because this requires taking data. This requires teaching a new skill. This requires you to likely change what you've been doing. But as we've talked about in video 1 with our behavior change mindset, when you have that mindset, that growth mindset of, I can do this, I can take action, these skills aren't here yet, we're in a bad space right now, but we can change it, you are ready to tackle that challenge. And your student deserves that. And your student needs you to help them teach these missing skills. That's why they're in your class. So I'm going to read through a few of these comments and questions here. If you have questions, I did not drop this important thing in before. If you have questions tonight, I'd love to answer them, but we really need the questions to be general. So they have to be non-student specific, because as BCBA, I ethically don't know your student. I haven't observed them. I haven't seen their data. So I can't read a little anecdote about your kid and be like, oh, this is what you should do. But if you have a general question about the Starve and Replace It framework and how this works, please drop it in. I see a few in here already. Katie asked, once these videos expire, can you please move them to the membership site? Great suggestion, Katie. So if you are in my membership, I will definitely add these videos to the membership. I need to write that down because I'm going to agree to doing that and then I'm going to forget. But I will definitely add these to the membership. I'll figure out a way to do that. So anyone else in my membership in here, you can be looking forward to that. People are having other behaviors in here. So someone brought up a sensory behavior. Sensory behaviors are a little different, right? Because we don't always know what type of sensory input is reinforcing that response. So sensory behaviors are a little bit of their own beast and something else. I have a few blog posts that I will recommend about sensory behaviors. I'm reading through some of your questions. Ooh, Lynette asked, how do we deal with work avoidance? First of all, Lynette, thank you for phrasing that question in a great way. That is not student specific. So with work avoidance, with escape behaviors, we really want to look at what we're escaping from and what we're escaping to. And I think with escape behaviors, we can do so much on the proactive and really preventative side to think about why our student wants to refuse the work, right? Why do they want to avoid the work in the start? So really looking at what those demands are, what the work endurance is, what missing skills are there. With escape behaviors too, I always ask myself, is it a can't do or a won't do? With all of the decisions we make, our decisions and the skills we engage in are affected by the skills we have to do it and the motivation. So we want to identify, is it a skill deficit or a motivation issue? And then really work to fill in that missing piece there. So within the Starve It and Replace It framework, I would look at making sure I have that skill is something that learner can really do within that work avoidance. And once I have done that, then when I know this child can do this skill, I want to really look at also what type of break they are escaping to, and then teach a way to ask for a break, a way that's positive, pro-social, communicative. When they engage in the replacement behavior of asking for a break, they get to go to a glorious, amazing, wonderful break. When they engage in work avoidance behaviors, whatever that looks like, we're going to kind of keep redirecting back to that task. And then when they engage in replacement behaviors, we really want to get the buy-in there. Sometimes we see that a lot of the student asking for a break right away. That's okay. I want to see them getting that buy-in right away. Mariah, I think I hopefully just answered your question. Again, thank you for asking that in the correct way about escape behaviors. So when I utilize the starve and replace it framework for an escape behavior, my almost step 1.5 between step 1 and 2 would be to really ask myself that can't do, won't do. Is it skill? Is it a missing skill or missing motivation? Then I want to really look at adjusting the task to make it something the student can do. Once I have that, once I know the skills are there, I know the reinforcement is there, then I'm going to teach that replacement skill of asking for a break. And when any escape behaviors happen, I'm not going to hand over hand a 15-year-old kid, an 8-year-old kid, super unethical, disrespectful, but I am going to wait out. We're going to come right back to that task. Life's going to go on around you, but the break that you will get of sitting there, zoning out, laying on the floor, whatever, is not going to be a cool break. You're not going to get access to my attention. You're not going to get access to cool toys in the break area. You're not going to get access to tech. All of those things are reserved for when you use the replacement behavior. So we can make the break less exciting by taking away the cool parts of the break, right? So escape is from, so whatever from is aversive, we want to work on that. And then to, what type of break are they escaping to? So we want to make sure that that type of break, the to, is in that replacement behavior piece. You guys are doing a great job of phrasing these questions correctly, I swear. I often say this, don't ask student-specific questions, and everyone's like, I've got this kid. So really good job. Ooh, Crystal asks, this is a question up my alley. When you are just starting to take behavior data, what is your favorite form of data collection? So in this step 1, when we're starting out, we carry on business as usual. And this is kind of hard because we want to jump in and do new things. But business as usual. I'm going to do planned, unplanned consequences, whatever we were doing, I'm going to keep doing. And then I'm going to take ABC data. And I love ABC data in a checklist form. I do not love the diary entry, the anecdotal, pages and pages and pages. So I've got a bunch of blog posts about checklist ABC data and how that looks. And I also have a few blog posts. If you go, I'll plop this link in here later. I have a bunch of YouTube tutorials on how to use Google Forms to analyze your ABC data. We will talk about that more tomorrow in my data video. Ooh, Ashley asked, what would be a replacement behavior for complaining? So with any behavior, we want to kind of, again, follow this process. Step 1. Take that data to figure out why it's happening. And it could be for attention, right? When you complain, you get attention. It could be for a break, right? When you complain, you're not doing work, you're not engaging in social demands. So again, once we figure out why it's happening, then we can starve it and teach something different. So to teach an appropriate way to get attention or an appropriate way to get a break or something like that. So we would still want to follow this same protocol, figuring out why. Because sometimes we have preconceived notions of oh, maybe this could be this, but we want to make sure right away, take some data to figure out really why it's happening. So Christina has a good question too. Step 1, we have some of the functions of behavior as attention, escape, avoidance, sensory, access. And these aren't all of the functions of behavior. There's also potentially a medical function of behavior. That's not always something we can diagnose. That's something we want to rule out, but that's not always something we can diagnose. And she asked if there could be a power control function. And that's something sometimes that's chatted about in the BCBA, ABA world. Is there a function of behavior that's control, that's power? My worry with labeling control as a function of behavior is that it can be one of those things where we wipe our hands. He just wants control. That's it. He just wants control. I think control is kind of a combo. A lot of behaviors are multiply controlled. It's not just attention. It's not just escape. Sometimes it's a combination. I think control tends to be a combination of a few. So it's fine if we want to label it as control. We just still want to follow this same process of how we can starve that response and replace it with something more functional. Ooh, Nancy has a good question. When starving attention, do you give more visuals instead of trying to talk to them? Yeah, I think we want to basically give the minimal amount of attention with an attention-seeking behavior that we can't ignore. So one I see a lot, and I use this like example in workshops, and I get very heated when animated when I talk about it in workshops, is elopement. So when students maybe sprint out of the room, right? Who in here is a runner? Throw a little I've got a runner statement in here and an exhausted looking emoji, because if you have a runner, you are real tired, right? So if you have a runner, you know, he sprints out the classroom. If you are in a public school, you likely do not have people waiting at doors with walkies where it's safe. So guess what you have to do? You have to run after him. And when adults chase children in hallways, it is hilarious, like hilarious, right? This is the most fun behavior. The child is the center of the world. You get to play tag with an adult that would never play tag with you. And the adult looks insane, because when you're chasing after a kid in the hallway, you have zero shame, right? Like you just got to get to him. What I see happen a lot, and you're guilty of it, I'm guilty of it if you've been in this situation, we sprint, we get the kid, we grab him. We go back to the class. We spend the whole way back saying, you shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't run. Next time, say in the class, blah, blah, blah. First then, whatever kind of language we're using, but we're talking. And then is the worst part, is the dramatic reentry into the classroom. We walk back in the room and we're huffing and puffing. We're out of breath. We're out of shape. And then we all talk about it. It's like everyone put money on how far Johnny was going to get in the hallway. Someone's like, did he get to room 302? Did he get to the stairs? How far did he get? We're all talking about it. We're like, Johnny, you should have done that. Oh, it's a whole thing. We get him back to his seat. Oh, you guys, hoopla. It's unnecessary. It's extra. Think about the same situation. Johnny sprints down the hallway. You get him. You grab him. No eye contact, no talking. You ran to the room. You talked to 0 people about it. Lips shut. Everyone's shut. Everyone's business as usual. No one even looks at you. He's right back to that task. That's totally different, right? So we want to remove any unnecessary attention in these. So Amy asked about a good replacement behavior for students who hit or kick others. It is easy and it is rewarding. A lot of the behaviors our kids engage in, they work, right? If you want to be left alone and you bite someone, it pretty much works every time, right? People don't want to be around someone that bites someone. If you want attention and you hit and kick, it's going to work. So you do want to do your due diligence of that step 1, not make the assumption of what you think is going on, because when we are with our kids for a while, it's easy to have preconceived notions. So you want to be able to get that bird's eye view of your class, take data and take those observations to really figure out what's going on. And then you follow this same framework. We want to reduce, so take away as much attention as we can, take away as much of whatever's causing that behavior to happen as we can, and then teach a new skill. So teach something they can do instead that will get them access to that same reinforcement. And if that's peer attention, that means that you got to get involved and make sure peers do give attention when they're engaging in that replacement behavior. You guys have so many good questions. Let me grab a few more of these. Oh yeah, some of you guys got runners in here. Yeah, you people are tired when you've got runner, right? When you have runners. Oh man, I'm having a hard time picking a question. You guys got a lot of good ones. Oh, I like Mariah's. Okay. When would you suggest teaching the replacement behavior? In the moment, right after the behavior, later in the day? I've always thought to teach it at a different time of day when he or she is willing to work with you. But what if the student's ability to generalize that skill to other situations is low? Amazing, amazing question. And keep in mind, in this video, we are like scratching the surface of this all, right? There's so much to talk about, especially with replacement behaviors. In my membership right now, there's a whole video that's like 20 minutes long just on the replacement behavior piece. So you kind of want to do a little bit of both. First of all, what you don't want to do, you don't want a student to engage in the negative behavior. You prompt them to replacement behavior, and then you give them what they want. Because now that behavior chain is, I do something negative, I do something positive, I get what I want. So we want to really teach it away from the negative behavior. Real behavior change is going to happen away from the negative stuff. So we want to teach it right in the start of the day. We want to teach it when we're in that open frame of mind. But we want to also think about the times of day that are going to be really hard for our kids. That's why that step one is important, to start to figure out why the behavior is occurring. We start to identify what settings, what situations, what demands are likely to be a struggle for our kids. So let's say Johnny has a really hard time at morning circle, because morning circle, although it's fun, it's very long, right? You got to sit, there's songs. I just don't like it, right? He's likely to engage in escape behaviors. Before morning circle, I would remind him, hey, Johnny, we got your break card right here, right? Remember, when you use your break card, you can get a break. Let's put it on your textbook. Let's bring it with you. Let's sit it next to you on the carpet. So I would really look at teaching it right before those times of struggle. But we're also going to be teaching it other times during the day, because how we teach new skills is repetition, reinforcement. And then I know sometimes we get worried, oh, he's going to ask for too many breaks. He's going to get too many breaks. It's that repetition. The more times he uses a break card and gets a break, the more buy-in he gets. We can work on delay and denial later. We're not going to stay there with like giving all the breaks all the time, but we got to get the buy-in. And that's sometimes what we hesitate from doing. And that's what makes the replacement behaviors really, really stick. You guys have such good questions. Yeah, I know we're going long here. I'm gonna take one more question, and I'm gonna try to drop a few links in here for you guys. So Adele asked, when starving the behavior, do you give consequences after the situation has de-escalated, or just continued to ignore? So we want to think about, it's not necessarily always attention. If we ignore a behavior just randomly, it might not be an attention thing. So our ignoring of that response is going to have no impact. And when we think about consequences kind of has this connotation of like, there will be consequences, etc. Our consequences are going to be teaching the new skill. So we are in the moment when a negative behavior happens, we're giving the least amount of reinforcement we can. We're giving the least amount of attention, the least cool break. We're blocking access to a sensory input. We're not giving access to a toy or activity. And we are teaching that replacement behavior at the same time. We're teaching that new, positive, pro-social way. So it's not necessarily something where we'd always continue to ignore, because it might not be an attention thing, and we might not be able to ignore it. So we want to give the minimal amount of attention if it is attention, but then be teaching that extra one on the same time. So we want to kind of always be balancing those two pieces. So as I said, this was the framework, right? This is kind of the bare bones, the basics, scratching the surface. But I think just by giving the basics on this is such a shift in mindset. And this helps you approach behavior plans and how to create some real behavior change in a way that makes sense, and in a way that now you have guidelines. Okay, what do I do first? Step 1, I take data. Okay, step 2, I starve it. Step 3, replace it. Step 4, I take data. Instead of just trying all the things and seeing what works, because let's be real, that's what a lot of us do when we are dealing with extreme behaviors. We try social stories, we try breaks, we try calm down corner, we try planned ignoring. We're just trying all the things. Instead, let's scale back a minute. Let's think about this functionally. In video 1, I talked about that reactionary mode we get stuck in. We're putting out fires, putting out fires, putting out fires. Let's not do that anymore. Let's have a plan and follow through on that plan. So when we have that behavior change mindset, like we talked about in video 1, we can approach this in this way. And now you have steps. I am a checklist person to the max. I want a recipe. I want a map. I want steps to do something. So this is going to be your manual for behavior change. You're going to have detours and you're going to have what ifs and, well, then I got to try this. And it's not going to always flow perfectly, but now you have the structure and the framework of how to approach this. And that's really what I hoped to accomplish with this video and kind of teaching the basics of the behavior of the Starve It and Replace It framework. So I hope you enjoyed this live and this video. If you didn't watch it yet, you gotta watch it. It's my favorite one, but you have to watch tomorrow's too. Sorry, keep asking a lot of you. Tomorrow is what's data got to do with it. If you have not drank the data Kool-Aid yet, I am determined to get you on board. And if for nothing else, watch the data video because there are some free downloads that are editable of some of my favorite data sheets that can help you really get this going in a way that is not overwhelming. Because I know the data piece can be overwhelming. So the data video is all simplify, simplify, simplify. So that's what we're going to work on in tomorrow's video. Oh, thank you guys. You all are so sweet. So I will see you all tomorrow. The video is coming out and the next live is on, gotta look at my phone and find out for you. On Wednesday the 22nd, I will be back here at 8 p.m. and we will talk about the data video. Have a good start of your week, everyone.